Okay, so while that does its thing for 2 hours, let's just have a look at the sourdough starter that we have left over, okay? So we have quite a bit left over. We have about 200 grams, or give or take, maybe more. But all we need to keep this alive, to keep the next feeding going, to make bread again in the future, we only need 70 grams of this, okay? Because what we're going to do for the next feeding, the day before we make bread, the next batch of bread you make, you'll only need about 140 grams of sourdough starter to do this recipe again. But to feed it, it's a little bit different. So we've been doing 20 grams for the whole week, so 20 grams of flour, 20 grams of water. And that's good to make your sourdough starter, but to keep it now, to feed it, it's a bit different, right? So what I recommend, I'm going to do a 1:1:1 ratio, okay? So for the next recipe, I want 140 grams of sourdough starter. So what I'll do, I'll take 70 grams of my sourdough starter culture that's ready, add 70 grams of water, 70 grams of flour, mix it 12 hours before I make bread, give or take 8, 12, 16 hours before we make bread, and it's ready to go. But today we have a lot of leftover sourdough, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to freeze some of this, right? The stuff I don't need. And the reason I'm freezing it is because if, let's say, your sourdough dies for some reason, or you go away on holiday, you can't feed it, things like that. Sourdoughs do die, okay? I've killed hundreds, okay? It just happens. But if you freeze it, the yeast won't die, right? The bacteria won't die. Some of it will, but it will go dormant, okay? So it means it's asleep. So if something does happen to your sourdough, let's say you drop the jar, I don't know, it dies, whatever, you leave it outside and it catches fire, I don't know, whatever happens, whichever way you kill it, you'll always have some backup in the freezer, okay? So all I'm going to do, just grab some Tupperware, right, plastic tub, or whatever you have, whatever's freezer happy for you guys. And we're going to put most of it, right, into that. And all I want to do is keep 70 grams into this tub, right? What I'll do to make it even easier, I'll weigh out 70 grams into this, okay? Here we go. From that left over. Hey now. All right, it's not much. Oh, 73. All right, take some out. All right. 69 is perfect. All right, so we got that. Right, so this is what we're going to keep from now on. This is going to be your sourdough culture. Okay, you're going to use to make your next batch of bread. And the stuff we just took out, that little bit there, right, that's going to go into the freezer as backup, okay? I'm going to put it into a smaller tub, but that's backup in case it ever dies. You'll have some backup so you don't have to do the whole 7-day thing again. All right, that sound good? All right, so that's going to go into the freezer. And this one, I'm going to feed now, right? So you should probably do the same. Give it a feed. The sourdough will love you for it, right? I'm going to feed now with the new quantities, okay? So we have 70 grams of sourdough starter, and I've got 70 grams of the rye flour, whichever flour you decide to use, and 70 grams of just lukewarm water, okay? And we're going to do the exact same thing we've been doing for that last 7 days, except you only have to do this one once a week, okay? Or the day before you make sourdough starter, okay? So I'm just going to mix that up. In with your water, right? Make a little slurry, right? In the beginning, I'd weigh your ingredients, but you'll find a lot of bakers and things like that. Once you do it after a while, you kind of know what you're looking for. You can kind of eyeball it, to be honest. But in the beginning, use some scales, okay? Get a feel for it, get familiar, get friendly with it, because there's a million and one recipes, and there's no right or wrong way. It's just personal preference, what you like, what suits your time schedule. This does take a long time, so add your flour, 70 grams of rye I'm using. Right. We're going to mix it, okay? Now that we've fed the sourdough starter, right? You don't have to make bread tomorrow, okay? What you can do, you can put this in the fridge, okay, for 1 week, and it will last 1 week without a feeding. All right? So 1 week without a feeding, but you have to feed it after 7 days, okay? Straight from the fridge. And what you're going to do, you're going to take out some sourdough starter. Make sure you have 70 grams of sourdough starter. Add your flour and water again. Exactly what we just did there. But you're going to find that you're going to have a lot of leftover sourdough culture, right? Especially if you miss it, or if you can't make bread that day and you plan for it and you fed it already. But there's recipes you can use. You can make like sourdough pizzas. You can make flatbreads with the leftover sourdough culture. You can do waffles. You can do loads of stuff, right? And I'll put some recipes up for that. But for now, if you're not making bread tomorrow and you've just fed it, just keep it in the fridge for a week and then repeat that exact same thing I just showed you, and that should last forever. Okay, super simple. All right. So yeah, let's check on our bread.